Have you guys seen the trailer for 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple?
Yeah.
Watched it after you told me to.
Yeah, I was kind of curious just to get your thoughts on it, because I could show like very short segments, probably without the sound, because Sony are very, very interesting when it comes to copyright, i.e. they will just hammer us for it. So I can't show too much to the audience here, but yeah, this is going to be directed by Nia DaCosta. It's obviously our follow-up to 28 Years Later. How are we feeling about it? Because I'll be totally honest, I'm not super excited for this one. 28 Years Later as a movie did not like live up to my expectations. And the more I think about it now, the more I see what a mess that film was. And I do not see how Nia DaCosta is going to fix that.
I wasn't excited by this trailer. And I liked 28 Years Later, but this trailer looked...
Ooh, got notes.
I was going to mute it there. Just in case anyone want me to skip to specific points for reference there. Or I can go slowly through it or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, the trailer looked like a sort of formulaic post-apocalyptic cult. I thought the scene where Dr. What's-his-name goes and almost gives Samson the Hung a big hug.
Samson the Hung.
It was just vaguely depressing. It's like if you can hug zombies now, then what the fuck is the function of a zombie?
They just feels like a completely our understanding.
Yeah. It feels like a totally different franchise. Specifically with this trailer. Obviously, the trailer could be cut in a weird way, but it just doesn't. The tone is just so different from what I got. That was my initial reaction. I only watched it once. I didn't really dissect it crazily, but.
Well, I think
I was going to ask, do we know if this is a spin-off or is this a direct continuation of the events of 28 years?
Direct continuation.
Yeah, it's like part 2 of 28 Years Later.
They were filmed back to back, I think, but like I don't know if this has ever happened. Like where you're filming movies back to back, but you hand off to a different director midway through.
Do you know what I couldn't figure out? So 28 Years Later did well commercially, but they're gonna like that. Fuck that, man. Just what is this? Like if he has a clear goal in mind, for example, if he's studying them, or maybe he thinks he can cure them, right? Like he's a doctor, he's working on a cure, and he thinks that would make sense. But none of that was in 28 Years Later. It's just he's just kind of crazy, and they're nerfing the zombies and making them not. They're making
them civilized now.
This just isn't what the audience wants. The audience doesn't want drugged up, safe zombies. They want the danger and the carnage. It's one of the reasons why people are going back and retconning 28 Weeks Later and pretending it's a good movie. By the way, 28 Weeks Later is a fucking awful movie. But they're pretending it's good because it gave them some of the things that they wanted from Years Later, which is that, crazy zombie gore. And it's like, Jesus Christ, man, I get it. I get that the first movie was a setup. I quite liked it. But at some stage, you do have to get to the fun action, the zombies going wild. And it's just, I don't think we're going to get it. I think it's going to continue to be weird Alex Garland, very allegory rich, vaguely pretentious, and kind of dull. Something like what we got with, what was that Natalie Portman movie called?
Oh,
Annihilation.
Annihilation, yeah.
It's all tease and no fuck. Do you know what I mean?
I think the focal point, I guess, from a character perspective, is going to be the whole Jimmy Savile thing, like the band of Jimmys that our main character gets indoctrinated into, and then what that does to him. Because like, there's loads of shots of him, like he's obviously taken on like the tracksuit, the bleach blonde hair, and everything. He's become one of them. But what's that going to lead him to? And I'm just like,
why the fuck should I care?
Exactly. Do I want this from my post-apocalyptic zombie survival story? No, not really. It's such a bunch of disjointed elements that just don't seem to really tell me anything that I care about.
Yeah, there's the Jimmy Savile gang.
Yeah, like there we go. Look at that bunch of movers and shakers.
Idea was that? Yeah.
I made sure everybody had a different color.
Can anybody guess as to what exactly Alex Garland is getting at? Because he loves his metaphors, right? What's he trying to say with the Jimmy Savile gang? Like, any ideas? Is this
The only-
Isolation is retarding in the sense that this is an England which was cut off from the rest of the world in the mid 2000s is when 28 Days is set. And because
so
we've been cut off and
before the
isolated,
allegations came out.
yeah, but because of that, we've been cut off and isolated from the rest of the world, and civilization has left us behind, and so we are stuck with these like strange, antiquated notions of national cultural identity, and it's a story about isolation and isolation preventing you from being your full civilized self.
So is he?
It's a story of Brexit, basically.
Is he
Yeah, I
basically
kinda get that.
suggesting that if England doesn't embrace the rest of the world, it's just going to be stuck in its own petty little culture, which he is trying to embody with Jimmy fucking Savile?
Yeah, why? To me, that's just making me think that, like, if this was set in the United States and there was an apocalypse or a zombie outbreak or whatever before Harvey Weinstein was discovered, if that didn't happen, you would then have gangs of people dressing up like Harvey Weinstein. Like, why would that ever happen?
I mean, Weinstein
what he seems like, what he's driving at with a lot of this is like our, particularly when we're deprived of outside information or like a different perspective, the enlightened perspective of multiculturalism. But anyway, the tendency to romanticize the past, to lionize celebrities and figures that people have been told to look up to their whole lives. That's, I think, what he's driving at with this. If you really want to pick allegory out of it, it's this idea, as I think Platoon was hinting at there. The more isolated a society becomes, the more it starts to become backward looking. It starts to become set in its ways over where it is culturally. Yeah,
you can see what he's doing here. He's suggesting that Britain isolated is a society which ultimately comes to value total uniformity, conformity. But I mean, that's a lie. That's a lie about the English past. The English came up with the concept of freedom and expression, individual expression, and things like that. If you want to look at a society which values total conformity, that's something like the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany. It's not old Britain.
It's not, but I mean, I think it's more broadly an allegory for stunted growth and development. So there's the reason the kid has to leave, essentially the stunted and isolated village to go out into the world to find himself, is another expression of the same essential idea. You will get locked in your ways if you are cut off from the outside world. Doesn't matter at what point you're cut off from the outside world. Doesn't matter which part of the world you're cut off from or where you currently are. The basic mechanic in play is if you just hide from everyone, you will develop weird cultural ideas which are out of step with modernity, and then you will fall behind for that reason. The only way to overcome it is to a degree to go out and experience it. Even the doctor, Ralph Fiennes' character, is isolated and develops strange, weird things. He's obviously doing weird sort of experiments-ish on the infected, which I suspect will end badly at some point in this or the next movie. Again, another idea of you're being isolated from everyone else, and you've developed this entire mythology around you, which is fundamentally at odds with what reality is, because there's no one there to tell you otherwise. That seems to be what the movie as a whole is going for in its various different plot threads.
There's the drinkers.
So tired.
The drinker's favorite actress.
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, is that who that is?
That's Ginger Plank.
Harley Morgan.
Yeah.
Oh, holy shit. I knew she looked familiar. I just couldn't figure out who it was. Now I see it. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, the world's most charismatic actress.
They tried to hide her under that blonde wig.
Yeah, we can see that ginger afro just straining to get out. And the funny thing is, the funny thing is, she's still got the exact same facial expression she always has in fucking everything. Like, she's just, imagine you're just seeing something shocking. Okay, good. Like, anything else? No, that's just it. Perfect.
Do you reckon as well that she'll go through her usual character arc, which is like she starts, you meet her, she seems to be part of the evil group, but because she's Carly Morgenthau, she turns out to be the good one, or the one that the show is sympathetic to. So like she'll be the one who sees the dangers of the Savile gang and helps the little kid escape because she's secretly a hero, like she always is in virtually every role she's played.
She will be, yeah, particularly because she's female. Like, she'll have to be good. The rules of modern writing dictate this, so yeah. There was
a weird scene like right in the middle of the trailer where she comes like face to crotch with what did you say it was Despot? What was the nickname you said for the
I don't know.
Big zombie?
Massive
zombie.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Samson the Hung, yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Like there was like she just comes like literally face to crotch with him.
What is that further back?
I don't remember exactly where it was, but it was it was probably the way that the scene was, filmed. It wasn't actually.
There's Samsung. Wait. See if I can get a good shot.
It was probably the blocking of the scene itself, though. It was.
Yeah. And yeah, man, just there's. Oh God, there's not a lot I'm seeing here that I'm excited about.
No, and because so much of it is built on the nonsenses in the first movie as well. The fact that the kid is here to begin with is because his dad just didn't go and try and find him until the end of the movie when he did, because it was time for him to do that. But didn't go after him immediately when he flees, because if he did that, he might have accidentally tracked him and found him, and then this couldn't happen. So the entire plot is based on the worst parts of the original film. And much like Alien Earth, it's one of those frustrating things where I really like what they could have done with it. The setting is wonderful. It's a beautiful looking show and place. I think you could work your way to establishing the world better than they did, but you could make it make sense. And you could tell an interesting story within it, but the first one was just not that. And now I have virtually no interest in this one whatsoever.
The first one at least had great moments, right? There was I don't know, if I was to think back, like the moment where the father and the son are running across the causeway to escape one of the Samsung the Hung. There's a really good soundtrack to it. It's very tense. It feels like this tragic moment that's building up, and you're genuinely on edge because at this point you've got to know them quite well, and you want them to survive. Things like that. Great stuff, the son reconnecting with his mother and sharing scenes, reminiscing about the past and the fleeting nature of life and all that good stuff.
That gets cut off really badly, abridged in the case of the mother. There's a couple of interesting scenes when they're on their journey, and then it sort of just cuts off so they can go and meet random pregnant infected person, and then gets her to the doctor who's like, no, you got to die because you've got cancer. And then you get the really seemingly, and it's well shot. I mean, it's very evocatively shot, but then you actually sort of dig down into what's happening in the scene. Drug the kid so he can't complain, so the mother can go and kill herself. And then when the kid wakes up the next morning, no reaction to what's just occurred. Just, here's your mother's skull, go put it somewhere good. And he does that. And it's just, the movie isn't following through with the moments it is identified as being the most emotionally dramatic of its entire thing. And so it understands how to make an evocative looking shot with an evocative theme to it. It doesn't know how to make characters react or respond to that in any way.
And it all got spawned from a movie that was really fucking good.
Not to be fair, you don't want to be too pessimistic. I do think that that Years was a big improvement on Weeks. It wasn't as good as It wasn't as good as 28 Days Later, but 28 Weeks Later was fucking awful. It was just this horrible generic zombie slop made during the zombie slop era, and 28 Years Later could have been that, and instead it did something much more interesting, which is one of the reasons I like it, even if it didn't really succeed at a lot of the things it was trying, and it made some basic mistakes. I still respect it for going to weird places and trying to be different. I really didn't want another zombie slop movie because there was a million of those back during the zombie era when it was all very popular before The Walking Dead killed it. So that's good. I'll give it credit for that, for bringing. I do think it actually raised the quality of the franchise because people forget how bad Weeks was.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. There was at least artistic intent behind it versus, as you say, Weeks, which was just let's make a cash-in sequel that's just very much put into the Hollywood mold. They were trying to do something more interesting with Years, but there was no discipline behind it and there was no focus.
Despot, what would you be saying then if Weeks didn't exist? If it went from days to years?
If it went from I would say it keeps with the idea of presenting a familiar genre, but introducing new and interesting ideas. So, for example, with 28 Days Later, it's the idea that, you've got this allegory that media makes people crazy and, it can cause mass hysteria and things like that. So there's some interesting ideas there. And I would think it carries that over well, but it has far too many of these ideas and not enough plot, story, and character. So it's like a lesser version of that. But it's not terrible. But you're right. If it had gone straight from Days to Years, it would be very disappointing. I mean, I was disappointed with Years. I did think it would be better than it was.
Yeah, because I really thought we were going to get something kind of bitching, and then
everyone loved the trailer because the trailer was
amazing. The trailer is one of the best trailers that I saw last year, and the film I don't think lived up to it at all.
The other thing with this trailer is I don't really love any of the characters. My favorite character in years was, I do actually quite like Dr. Moriarty or whatever he's called. He's a decent character. And then Spike's father I quite liked. He's a very flawed man. He loves his son very much. And of course he can do the action. He's fast and aggressive and athletic. That's a good character. But the characters that I'm seeing in this, I don't know anything about the Jimmy Savile gang. We only got them at the very end of the last one, so there's potential there. Maybe the character who's cosplaying as Jimmy, he might be good. But in terms of character, I'm not seeing much here that I particularly like.
The father was an interesting one, like Spike's dad, because I feel like we liked him, but the movie didn't want us to. Which was one of those interesting situations where it's like he's revealed to be cheating on his wife, and like he's kind of aggressive towards his son when he's pressed too hard. He lies in the sense that he inflates what his son accomplished. Well, he's a good character. He's not a good. He's a very flawed man, but he's a flawed guy. But like, I think he's 100% trying to do the right thing. He's a good guy. He's not particularly bright, and I like it because it was kind of relatable. In the sense that if you don't have some of those negative traits yourself, you at least know guys that are a bit like that. He felt very real.
He did up until the point at which he forgot he was a tracker and decided it wasn't worth looking for his kid.
Exactly. That was the single worst element of the movie, because I like that character. I wanted to see more of him. And you could have done something simple, like when he's going across the runway during the chase scene, if he'd have taken an arrow to the leg, like a friendly fire arrow, and when he learns about his son Spike, he tries to go after him, but he just can't make it because his leg's too injured. Yeah. And they drag him back crying. That would have been a great scene.
Yeah.
That would have been great, and that would have fixed the biggest problem in the movie. And it's simple. It's a simple thing.
But you can see what thematically they're trying to do with his character versus Jimmy, right? They're trying to dovetail them in the sense of like, we tell lies to create narratives around people in order to believe in something, in order to make ourselves feel better. In this case, it's like he tells lies about his son's accomplishment during their first hunt to try and big him up and make the crowd happy so they can all have their big celebration. In Jimmy's case, he lies about like his hero, Jimmy Savile, or at least he sees it as, he's telling lies from our perspective, but he's lionizing this character as this saintly figure that he now models himself after. It's the same principle, but like mirrored across two different characters, which thematically, okay, fine, if that's going to be the thing you want to explore throughout the movie, but one character's doing it for like much more understandable reasons, to buoy up his son and give him a chance to, find his place within the community. The other one's doing it just for self-serving, the maintaining of his grip on power. But I don't know if the movie's going to make that distinction between the two.
It might, because there's also like an overcoming the sins of the father thing because you get the brief prologue thing with little Jimmy, who's, I also thought this was one of the weakest parts of the movie, to be fair, when the zombies attack his homestead, and then he goes to meet his father is the priest, right? And then the priest is just a mad religious zealot who welcomes his new children as they eat everyone. And it's like you as a kid, you are formed to a degree by the things your father does wrong, or the father figure does wrong. And in little Jimmy Savile's case, obviously this is a person to whom evil was done and who does evil in return. And in Spike's case, a person to whom evil was done in a less obvious and overt way, but who has escaped the confines of his village to go and discover himself. And there will be a sort of, I imagine, a degree of reckoning there between him and his father, and to establish that, growth requires this, growing out from the confines that you grew up in. That will be one part of it, I suspect. And then the other part of the movie's got to be with Dr. Ray Fiennes and because he's going to be doing all the world building explanation, I would imagine. He's the one who's been studying the infected. He's the one who may even have had something to do with the rise of the alphas or something. There's a few sort of hints and bits and pieces here and there. So he's got to do loads of explaining as to why alphas exist and why the world now is the way it is and what control they have and what he's been doing. And I don't know which of these two things is going to work best. I suspect the character stuff will work a little bit better than the world building stuff. I can see that getting incoherent quite quickly.